So my friends and I over at the Discord are doing a monotype challenge for Pokemon Gaia. Now if you don't know what the monotype challenge is, basically you have to play a Pokemon game and beat it to completion, but the catch is that your team needs to share the same type, such as beating Pokemon Emerald with only water types, or beating Pokemon Black with fire types. Now I've never played Gaia before, and so since blind runs are always great ideas to start big challenges for, I thought about recording my progress throughout the challenge. Since this is a group challenge where myself and a bunch of others are doing this challenge, we have set checkpoints we need to reach within a certain amount of time. In this case, the first checkpoint will be from the start of the game all the way to the second gym. So that's how far this video is gonna go. If I make it that far! The game starts how you would normally imagine a Pokemon game starting. You talk to your mom, you get a mission, that mission may be an old lady asking you to meet in a cemetery because of a book you've borrowed from the library. That's not suspicious at all, so I went to meet her anyway. I also met this random little girl who started our conversation with this. Okay. Now when I entered this creepy looking area, I was surprised to hear the Mount Pyre music, which is totally not scary or suspicious at all. So anyway, I talked to the lady, I gave her the book back, she put some blame on some librarian or something for stealing a book from an old lady, just the typical Pokemon Gaia stuff. Then my mom comes out to tell me that the Pokemon professor is gonna give out free Pokemon at the library. Took me a bit of time, but I ended up finding the library and meeting the Pokemon professor. There were two other kids who were probably looking to get more Pokemon. The professor did mention a good point, asking why were there so little people? I mean, he is pretty much giving out free Pokemon. Then he revealed his master plan and said that we were going to be helpers instead of just getting free Pokemon. So naturally, that other person just decided to walk out. Anyway, since we're doing a steel monotype route, I wasn't expecting to use a starter here, but I was actually genuinely surprised that we were using Gen 4 starters. So naturally, I ended up going with Piplup because Piplup evolves into Empoleon, which is part steel. After struggling to find a nickname and looking through the Name Raider site, I ended up just picking my own name and calling it Cola. See, my thought process behind this was drinking cola, but then with a K, so that it's cooler. And because Piplup is cool, because it's a penguin. Then the game asked me to name the rival character, and I also had trouble picking his name, so I ended up naming him Cola too. Now that we have a Pokemon, the professor told us to go meet him in his other house in another city, which I guess he could have done that. Never mind. So now that I had my Piplup in hand, I decided to move on, check the encounters to see if there was a steel type I could get. Spoilers, there were none. And then I went to meet the professor in the second town. Professor Redwood over there gave us a care package. That care package gave us a Pokedex, a badge thingy, as well as a town map. Then Professor Redwood and the rival go to leave the house, and naturally, I decided to go snoop around. Unfortunately, there wasn't really too much to see. His house did have a functional PC though, so I went to get my potion from there. Then it was time to move on to Archan Tunnel. But before that, we have to fight our rival first. But while I was scouting for encounters, I already leveled up a little bit. This made the rival fight not too hard. Then he said his usual, "Oh, why did I lose?" and then left. While I was running around in Archan Tunnel, I discovered a Drillbur, which evolves into Excadrill, that is also part steel type. So I ended up catching it, and because it was a girl, it kind of threw me off because I was thinking of a male nickname at the time. Anyway, I just named it Linnell and moved on. Tried to name it after the Gen 3 girl that takes care of the boxes. I hope I got her name right at least. Eventually, I made it out of the Archan Tunnel, and the rival said that I should try tackling the first gym. He also said it was a fairy type gym, which was pretty good since I was starting to build up a steel team right now, so, you know. So I decided to grind up a bit and see if I could get Metal Claw and Drillbur, but that ended up failing on me, but it doesn't really matter. There was also this one kid at the front of the Archan Tunnel that said he lost his Weedle, so I ended up finding that for him too during my second run through of the Archan Tunnel. That was pretty cool, I guess. I ended up grinding my team to around level 10, level 11. I thought it was a decent enough level for the gym, so I ended up running it. While I was checking my stats, I was pretty surprised to see that there wasn't really any stat buff and stat debuff straight on. It was kind of like the Toho Puppet Dance performance system, where some of the stats are like A+ grade, and then some of the stats are like E grade, where they're not that great. I don't understand it way too much, but still it's pretty cool. So the first gym is a fairy gym, like I explained before, but the puzzle in this gym was actually pretty interesting. The puzzle is kind of like Forever Forest in Paper Mario 64 or Bamboo Forest of the Lost in Puppet Dance Performance. Some of the exits send you back to the front of the room, or they can send you to the next room. So it's up to you to figure out where to go from there. there. I also realized halfway through that you're supposed to beat the trainers before you progress, because I tried to skip a couple trainers, but I ended up going back to the same room no matter which exit I tried. Then I ended up fighting the first gym leader, Fernando. Fernando happens to be a little kid too, so that's interesting. Fernando also has 3 Pokemon, which is pretty cool. He starts off with the Clefairy at level 11, which kind of threw me off guard. Even though my moves weren't that great, I kind of just banked on Mud Slap and Stab, as well as the fact that it also dropped accuracy. Unfortunately, Mud Slap, even with Stab, is still god-awful. Mud Slap didn't really help me much since Clefairy ended up killing me anyway. Now it's up to Cola to make his redemption arc. His next mon was a Ralts, which I ended up taking out pretty easily, and then his last mon was a Jigglypuff. All the Jigglypuff really did was set up Defense Curl. Fortunately, my Stab Bubble is a special move, so I ended up knocking it out pretty easily too. Even though I was slightly underleveled, I ended up beating the first gym. Unfortunately, Fernando didn't feel like I beat him fairly, which I mean, I guess. So he ended up not giving me the badge and running away from the gym. I feel like I've seen this before. When I exited the gym, the man at the daycare center told me that Fernando was like his grandson or something. Apparently, Fernando checked out all of his Pokeballs and entered the Wisp Forest alone, which, you know, I mean, so naturally, I ended up having to chase him. The next route was full of Fairy and Poison-type Pokemon, so there wasn't really anything I could use. And then it was time to enter Wisp Forest, which was actually full of Ghost types. So if I ended up doing a Ghost-type mono run, then, you know, everything would have been maybe a little easier. After running around for a bit, I ended up finding the gym leader, and then I brought him back home safe and sound. He gave me the badge, the daycare people thanked me, and all was well. I also had to go back into the gym so he could give me the TM. There was a last trainer that told me that there was something secret and hidden, and she was like telling me, can you find it? I ended up mashing the A button until I found a tree, and I was surprised to see that there was a hidden grotto mechanic. Unfortunately, the Pokemon there was a Venonat, which isn't a steel type, so I had to let it go. I should also mention that I got HM01 Cut, which is now a bug type with base power 60. I made it to the next town, which didn't have anything to note, which means that there was no gym. I mean, there was that bunch of artists, but I mean, I couldn't really do anything there. This town also had an inverse battle, which I found was interesting. The inverse battle was pretty easy though, because the AI was still trying to use moves that were normally super effective on me, and my team had like no coverage. After the free XP, Cola started to evolve, which evolved into Prinplup. Then I also got Metal Claw. So right when I was about to storm out of the place, I ended up seeing a shady looking guy that was standing outside of this building. I talked to him, he ended up getting defensive, and now we're in a fight, I guess. So I guess now we meet the main antagonist of this team, which is like New Elder, which, may I say, is the weirdest team name I've ever heard of. Hey, what's your team name from? Oh, you know, I like volcanoes and rocks and magma. Okay, so you're Team Magma. How about you? Well, I like space and cosmos and Clefairy. Ah, so you're Team Galactic. What about you? I like Grandma. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention that we needed to see this guy named Herschel. Herschel knew the secret language because, oh my god, I missed a lot of this story. So we brought Herschel back to the Arcan Tunnel, and then he basically showed off his skills, and when he tried to show off his skills, he couldn't exactly decipher everything that was on this panel, but he ended up deciphering a couple things. After that, we could then explore the other parts of the Arcan Tunnel. In there, I found an Aron, which I accidentally killed with Bubble on the first try, but on the second try, fortunately, Mud Slap still sucks, even though it's quad effective. Ugh. And I ended up catching our third Steelmon. It took me 3 seconds to name this Mon because I was like, oh, Aron, oh, Arl, and Carbuncle, Puyo Puyo, Tetris for Jeff. This next part was starting to get a little difficult for me since I didn't really stock up on potions and I ended up expecting that I was gonna get to the next town soon. So I skipped a bunch of trainers, lost a couple Mons, but eventually found my way to the next city. Well, it's actually a town because it's Nespine Town, but so Nespine Town is home to the second gym of the Orptus region. Arl needed a little bit more training, so I ended up training a bit more with the other trainers that I skipped. One of the trainers ended up healing me, which I was upset that I figured that out now. So I ended up grinding the squad to around level 18, which I thought was pretty decent around this level. So I ended up heading over to the gym where the rival was sitting. This marks the first obstacle that I found during this adventure. The second rival fight was honestly a pretty big level gap. This time Cola has 4 Mons, and they're absolutely insane. I ended up having to RNG cheese this so many times. My best attempt was basically Arl trying to headbutt flinch the Mokuita, then 2-cycle the Roggenrola with Sturdy, but the Grotto was the main problem because he basically countered the entire team. If I used Arl, he would camp me out with Curse, ended up sweeping the entire team. If I used literally anyone else, Razor Leaf would one-shot me. So I had to hard bank on RNG here, spam Mud Slap to drop Grottle's accuracy, and even though Grottle took out Arl and Cola, Cola was still able to get enough chip damage in thanks to 2 clutch Razor Leaf misses. This gave Linnell the opportunity to clean up the grotto. Now Cola was down to his last Mon, which was Swablu. Swablu wasn't really too much trouble since it didn't really counter anything I had, and I didn't really have anything to counter him. So I beat the rival fight and I ran into the gym, which I was greeted immediately with a trainer, which was kind of funny. So this gym is a flying type gym, and this puzzle was really fun to see. The puzzle was a memory game where you have to remember which shout-out note was playing and then repeat it in the same order. The thing is that some of these rooms don't even lead you to the gym leader, so even if you do a puzzle, you'll end up fighting a gym trainer instead. Naturally, because of Murphy's Law, I ended up doing all of them and found the gym leader on the last one. So the gym leader Arya starts off with a level 21 Volibye. I ended up leading with Arl because she quad resists flying, and she had Rock Tomb too. So I 2-cycled the Volibye with Rock Tomb, and then Arya sent out her level 21 Gligar. I ended up sacking Arl so I could get a clean switch into Cola so I could Bubble Beam it, and sure enough, Gym Leader Arya's ace is a Chatot. Who would have thunk? So Chatot had the signature move Chatter. Chatter seems to have a chance for confusion, which landed confusion on all of my Mons, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was 100% confusion at this rate. So I ended up using Bubble Beam with Cola and revived Arl in the meantime just in case things went south, which they did, but besides that, the battle wasn't too bad since Chatter was quad resisted by Arl and I had Rock Tomb, so I ended up beating the second gym. So I reached the checkpoint, I made it to Nespine Town, and this is what the squad looks like right now. So my first thoughts on Pokemon Gaia real quick is that I really like the difficulty curve. It's difficult, but it doesn't feel too unfair. There's a lot of diversity between the Pokemon in this region, whether it be in the wild or from the trainers scattered around the areas. The gym puzzles are also really fun and creative, and you can tell a lot of effort and love was put into this hack. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this type of video, and if you did, let me know in the comments below if you're interested in seeing part 2. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye! It's me! It's me! Oh, it's me! Ew! It's me!